Right, can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, a lot of this might be coming out of your ears, but we'll just go over it. You know the introduction, you have a color directory at some point. We'll try and print it out so you can put it in your Qur'ans. You all know this dua now. You've got a big heart somewhere. Okay, so you got to tell me what it is. I'm obviously reading it. Walzam qalbi hifdha kitabika kama allamtani. Basically, I want to fall in love with the Quran. That's basically what it's about. So you've got a big heart sticker, and hopefully you'll put it everywhere, right? Surah Al-Fatiha. Focus. Summary of the Quran. Come on, you've got to talk to me. Summary of the Quran. Baqarah, history of Iman. You good with that? Okay. Al Imran, a Muslim identity. Surah An-Nisa, the manifestation of that identity in a society. And the thing Nisa, which is women, focuses on is that the moment you see a Muslim society, there must be respect for women. And it's, you know, the moment you see it, that's something you'll see. And I told you about when we went to Morocco, and I told you about the 2 doors on every house. So you had a big door and a small door. And in the big door was for the women. The small door was for the men, so they had to bow down before they went into the homes. And that's just a sign of a society that respects women. Now, we started Maaida last week, and I told you that Maaida was a continuation of basically the social justice or the manifestation of a Muslim identity. It looks at other aspects. It also looks at how you will deal with Ahlul Kitab, for example. And it will also talk about everybody in the world. And this is something that human beings do. Whatever culture, color you come from, you always want to know whether your future is secure. In this country, we have pensions. Or you might have, you know, somebody's going to look after you. So here also in Maaida, before you go any further, it tells you, yes, there is a continuation of Nubuwah, which goes into Imama. And if you remember, we did the first ayah, which was, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. You remember uqud? I told you aqd was a knot. It was being able to, if I can say, fulfill all your promises. And it's not just a promise that you make straight away. It's absolutely everything. Anything, any covenant that you took, whether you declared it or you didn't, is a promise. We talked about the covenant you took when you took your driving license. So as far as we're concerned, it is a law for us to be able to stop at a red light, to follow the speed limit, to wear a seatbelt is law because you took a covenant that you would follow that law. And we talked about different aspects of it. 5.3 was one that I think that's where we stopped. But when we looked at 5.3, it's known as Ayatul Ikmal. It was the ayah of completion as such. And if you remember, we talked a little bit about Akmaltu and Atmamtu, right? And if you remember, I said Ikmal was to complete, Itmam was to perfect. Not necessarily everything that is complete is perfect. And that is why the ni'mah, that was the perfection of the ni'mah. Now there's 3 words that I used for blessings. Ni'mah, barakah and hasanat. Right? In the Arabic language, if you said a blessing, which ni'mah here is concerned, alaykum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati, there are 3 words. Ni'mah, barakah and hasanat. Ni'mah actually refers to a specific blessing which only a recipient who is intelligent will be able to accept. And here ni'mati is the ni'mah of Imam Ali alayhi salam. I know it's a bit difficult, but maybe when you hear it again and again, it will come through. I repeat again, when you look at this ayah, remember, everything that is complete cannot be perfect. Okay? One is completion, one is perfection. And the perfection of the ni'mah is the adaptation or the declaration that Imam Ali was the Imam. Okay. Right. Well, I'll go over bits and pieces when we come to Ayatul Tabligh. Now 5, 6. If you go to 5, 6 in your Quran's next page, I think. And that's pretty simple. Doesn't need too much of an explanation. It talks about wudu, it talks about ghusl, and it talks about tayammum. It's really amazing. It's quite easy to remember. 5, 6. Not difficult. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Idha kumtum ila salah. When you stand up for salah, and look at the way it's done. And when people tell me, well, other people do wudu like this and that, well, look what it says. فَغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. Wash your faces. Very clear. وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ. And your arms. Up to where? إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ. To your elbow. I mean, you can't. وَامْسَحُوا. Masa is to wipe. بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ. And your legs. إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. Up to the bone in your. That's why you wipe it until, right? وَإِن كُنْتَمْ جُنُبًا. If you have had relationships, فَطَهَّرُوا. Do ghusl. وَإِن كُنْتُمْ مَرْضَى. If you're sick, أو على سفر, or you've gone on a journey, أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط, or you have visited a ditch. غائط is a ditch. At that time, they didn't have these beautiful toilets we have. So they used to go behind a tree, dig a ditch and cover it up, okay? أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. Or you had relationships with your women. فَلَمْ تَجِدُوا مَاءً. And you can't find water. If you didn't find water, فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا. Tayammum means look for, search for. We relate tayammum to using sand. Halanki tayammum literally means to look for. What are you supposed to look for? Yes, sa'idan tayyiban, pure sand, pure earth as such. And then it says famsahu, and then wipe biwujuhikum wa aydiyakum minhu, your face and your hands. Now it doesn't say the whole face, a part of your face which was up to your, and you know how to do tayammum. Wa aydiyakum minhu ma yuridillahu liyaj'alakum min harajin. Allah does not wish difficulty for you. So you've got a stick there which has a bit of water on a hand, which shows you a bit of wudu, right? So you could stick that on. But at the side of my Quran, I put wudu, ghusl, and tayammum. And then ghayat, I've put a ditch. And for tayammamu, I've put to look for, because you may forget. Okay? Maybe I should put a picture of my my Quran there as well. Right, next one is 5.8. Now if you remember on 5.8, we talked about adl and qist in Surah An-Nisa. Do you remember? And I told you in Surah An-Nisa that justice is in the middle. We do two types of injustice. We will do injustice because we favor someone. And we will do injustice because we hate someone. In Surah An-Nisa, we looked at it, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it was ayah 135. Where we looked at injustice because of favoritism. So whether we favor our children or our parents or our friends or our community, that's injustice. But this injustice that looks at 5.8 is injustice where you hate someone and you're unjust to them because you don't like them. It says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada bil qist. Be upright. And remember, we did adl and qist. You remember? If you don't, I'll remind you again. Adl was passing a verdict. Qist was three things. There's a pre-trial investigation. There was passing the judgment. And there's also executing the judgment. You get that, right? It's just a matter of repetition. Now he says, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَعَانِ قَوْمًا أَلَا لَعْتِدَلُوا اِعْدِلُوا. Don't let the hatred of someone incite you not to be just. So those were the two parameters, and I put it in there. Right, next one, 5.9. This is beautiful. Now this is something that we think we know. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Wa'ad. You know what wa'ad is? Promise. So Allah has promised to those who believe. You know what Iman is. But Iman is very difficult. It's very easy to say, I believe. Now he says there's a manifestation of that Iman. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. 90% of the translation, might say 99%, say Amilu Salihat is good deeds. But good in Arabic is khair. Good is not salihat. Amal, if you remember, we did the difference between amal and fi'l. Fi'l is something you do subconsciously. You breathe, you walk, there's lots of things we do without thinking and making. I don't say I'm making an intention of taking a breath in and a breath out, unless of course I'm in the gym, right? When the trainer tells you to breathe in deeply and out. Otherwise you don't. So amal has to be with intention. Salihat comes from sulah. Now sulah means to put something together, to mend. We say sulah, right? In Gujarati, Urdu as well. So literally means this salihat is to correct that which is wrong. That amal which is wrong is known as amilus salihat. And the heart, the art, anybody who knows Arabic will tell you, doesn't mean a whole bunch of things. It means a few things. To be able to manifest iman, I have to first look in myself. And I have to look at that which is wrong and fix it. When I fix myself, then I'm able to help somebody else. I can't help anybody else unless I fixed myself. Rumi writes of a beautiful story of a stork and a raven. And he says, as he goes, it's a poem, but I'll just put it as a story. He says he goes towards this stork and raven. He can't understand why they're such good friends. Every morning, the stork meets the raven. And he said, it's only when I went near them did I realize that both had broken legs. You can only, in Gujarati we say, jene gumbro thai and dukhe. Then basically. So when you have a zit or a pimple or a boil, only then will you realize the pain that occurs. Otherwise you won't. So it's exactly the same thing. Amilus salihat is not good deeds. It is fixing things. It's fixing people. Once you've fixed yourself, then you're able to fix somebody else. If you have extra, then you can give. Otherwise you can't give. Lahum maghfiratun wa ajrun adim. For them is forgiveness and an awesome reward. Ajr is a reward. So just by fixing yourself and helping others fix themselves makes an amazing difference. Okay? Right, 5:15. You should be able to turn your page, hopefully. Now here I just want you to look at the last ayah. I don't want to go through the whole thing because it'll take us too much time. You want to see the last bit which says, Qad ja'akum min Allah. Ja in Gujarati means go. In Arabic it means come. You good? Qad ja'akum, has come. Min Allah, from Allah. Has come two things. Nurun wa kitabun mubin. So he says, has come to you a light and a book. So there must be a talking Qur'an, and then there must be, or a practical Qur'an, and then there must be one that is static, like a book. So here, many of the Mufassirin have translated Nur as the M14, as I call it, as the Masumin. You could call it the Anbiya and the Masumin, it's up to you. But those who practically demonstrate to us how the Qur'an works. Now, what does this book do? What does the Qur'an and the Masumin do? Yahdi bihillahu man ittaba'a rizwanahu subul as-salam. With those two, you will be able to guide yourself to a place of peace. That's what everybody looks for, right? وَيُخْرِجُهُ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. And if you're in any darkness, any problems within yourself, it will take you out. And it will bring you to a place of peace. It's actually the imagery you have is possibly, I use Waze. Do you use Waze? I don't know, Google Maps, Waze, Apple, whatever. This is what it is. You don't know the way. And it is showing you the right way. وَيَهْدِيَهِمْ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. It is showing you and I, if you are to cut through the fog and you are asked, what do you want in life? Yes, you might say, I want my babies to be potty trained, and then when they grow up, I want them to speak, and then go to university, and then they want to get married, and they have children, and you become a grandmother, and you think, oh my goodness, what are you doing with all these grandchildren? Sorry. All the rest of it. But no, if you cut through everything, you and I want to reach our full potential. So that when death comes, you and I are able to say, thank you for life, I did my best. Because at the end of the day, those children don't belong to you. Those grandchildren don't belong to you. You may do what you want. Suddenly they are human beings on their own and you need to let them go. Yet you slaved all your life for them. Yet here, Sirat al-Mustaqim is something completely different. In the next surah we will look at more of it. When you say Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, it is telling you that that is you seeking your full potential, your personal best. And the only two things that will guide us is the Qur'an and the Masumin. And there's nothing else. Everything else is transient, okay? All right, 532. Now I know this ayah quite well because when my son decided he wanted to be a doctor, I told him, you can't do that. How can you become a doctor? That's the worst thing you can pick on. So I took him to the East End because I wanted to show him the surgeries there and the difficulty it was. And if ever in his head he thought he was going to make money, he was never going to make it. Okay? So he was always going to be poor. So if he thought in his head, I didn't know what he was thinking. And he said, Mama, that's not why I want to become a doctor. And this is the ayah he brought up to me, and I just kept quiet. I didn't have any more to say. Okay, so it was nothing to do with anything at all. So this ayah is phenomenal because it says, فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا. If you keep one person alive, فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. It's like you have saved the whole of humanity. Now go a bit further back. فَكَأَنَّمَا قَتَلَ النَّاسَ. If you killed human being, if you killed one person, for example, you saw it here, من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. You kill one person, it's like you've killed the whole of humanity. That's not what he told me. He told me this meant وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. You save one person, it is like you've saved the whole of humanity. It's a phenomenal line. That's why you have a doctor there. God knows why I put him there. But you've got a doctor there to put there, right? It actually puts a value of life. And life is not only physical life. If you made somebody smile, if you gave somebody the will to live, that's what you did. You brought them out of the darkness into the light. So it's not only physical life, and I think we talked about it quite a bit. 535. I love this because all of us do this all the time. Okay? Right. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O you who believe. Ittaqullah. The first thing is be God conscious. Now let's see what we do here and how we have taken it. Wabtaghu ilayhil wasila. Find to get near to him a wasila. A wasila is a means of getting near him. Now, sometimes in our head, we kind of think that wasila, and there's 3 stages, by the way, because we'll come to a jahidu fi sabilillah. We think, the moment we think wasila, we think of the aimma, for example. So I'm going to go through each one for you. It is not necessarily just people. Let's start right in the beginning. So, a wasila can be a place. Do you remember we did Zakaria? And what did Zakaria do when he saw Maryam? Hunalika da'a Zakaria. There and then, a place can be a wasila. That's why you and I sit here. This is the farsh of Hussein. There is no better place than this. Just come and sit here. You find you're troubled, come and sit. That's why you're told, if you're troubled at home, sit on your musalla. Isn't that what you're told? You're told if somebody's going to Sakarat al-Maut, sit them on the musalla. But you can bring them here. This is the Farish of Hussein, so that there's a place. It could be clothes. Yaqub, Surah number 12, Surah Yusuf, Ayah 93. Yusuf takes his shirt and he says, "Idhabu bi kamisi, take with this kamisi, hada falquhu ala wajhi abi ya'ti basiraha." If you put it on the face of my father, he will be able to see. Clothes are important. So I say this very often, that bring a bit of your kafan in Amal Arafat, in Amal Dawood, on the day of Ashura, in this place. It will bear witness that it's there. I tell this story many times on the mimbar, and I will repeat it again. I have a teacher, and she had a teacher, And her teacher was reciting the Majalis for Muharram. And the day of Hazrat Abbas, she died. So this particular woman took over her place on the mimbar. And she said, I wanted to hurry up because I wanted to go and give ghusl. But I couldn't because it was the day of Hazrat Abbas and I had to sit on the mimbar for long because everybody expected a long majlis. She said, as soon as I finished, I ran to the ghusl khana. And she said, when I went there, they had already finished giving a ghusl, they had put the kafan on, and they were just putting the chadar on. And she said, I said, where is her rumal Fatima? Where is it? Because she insisted to me to keep this handkerchief on which I cried the tears of Fatima, and that should be buried with me. Where is hers? And they said, we couldn't find it. We don't know where it is. So she said, what I had on my mimbar, the handkerchief I had, she said, I put it in her hand. She said, God is my witness that the hand closed over the handkerchief and tears came down her eyes. Now, if you thought that that was something small, it isn't. It's clothes. So this wasila to get near Allah is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. I mean, I can tell you lots of stories, but anyway, that's one of them. The Qur'an, 1782, you can write that down. وَنُنَزِّلَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Incidentally, somebody sent me some amals of Al-Banin because today they're commemorating our Wafat downstairs. And they said besides Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Ikhlas and Surah Al-Qadr, you have to recite 7 times this ayah, 17. It's Quranic ayah. I don't know where they come from. I have no reference, but if it's Quranic ayah, recite them. I mean, there can't be anything wrong with them. The Awliya and the Awsiya and the M14, you will find in Surah An-Nisa 64. You remember we did Surah Tawbah? The Prophet was told, if he had come to you, we would have forgiven you sooner. You remember that? We did that. So the dua of a sinless tongue is also a wasila. So when somebody comes to you and said, do dua for me, your tongue has not committed their sins. So go to them, go to people and say, do dua for me. Hopefully, if they ask you, what do you want dua for, just say, he knows. You don't have to be specific. If you want to be specific, even better. Because when you are specific, that person will see you all the time. They will continually do that specific dua. I was talking to somebody just now. My eldest granddaughter has got cerebral palsy, so she cannot sit or stand or talk or lift her head or anything. But she talks through a device and she talks through eye gaze. And when I ask her, Sophia, what do you want? Because I'll put it in my musalla. It takes her half an hour to make a sentence. And she said, Nani, I want strong legs. So I drew some legs. And she said, that's too thin. Muhammina just now told me she should have put my legs there. But so I drew thicker legs. And she said, no, too thin. So I had to take 2 pieces of paper. And she said, I want legs like this, Nani. So it's a sinless tongue. Somebody else is praying for you. Be specific to the person you trust, because they're your wasila. They will pray for you. If I came and told you that this is this particular thing that I want you to pray for, I can guarantee you it'll come into your head when you sit down for a salah, right? People you can trust, huh? Not those who will then announce it on the microphone. Okay. 2 categories of wasila, dunya and akhirah. Okay. So dunya, the first thing is tawbah. I went through all the other bits, but tawbah is a wasila as well. And I've got Quranic ayat to go with it, and inshallah I will try and send them to you on the WhatsApp group. Next one is iman. Then you've got amilus salihat. That's a wasila as well. Ya Allah, I have fixed myself and I've helped somebody else fix. That is my wasila to you. These are the wasilas you can use. You've got the Qur'an, obviously. Then you've got the prophets and the M14. Anything related to a good deed is a wasila. I stopped at the zebra crossing. I stopped for somebody crossing the road. I helped someone. You don't have to tell anybody else. You have to tell him. I picked up a chewing gum wrapper. I didn't have to, but I did. Angels are a wasila, and mu'mineen are definitely wasilas. They're amazing. I ask you in the name of Banin. I ask you in the name of Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra at the weekend. My goodness, that wasila is way out. Allahumma inni as'aluka bihaqi Fatima wa abiha wa ba'aliha wa baniha wa sirr al-mustawda fiha bi'adada ma'ahata bi'ilmuk. These are all wasilas that we use. In the akhirah, there's 4 or 5. You have the anbiya, You have the M14, which are the Masumin. You have the angels. You have the Shuhada. And you have other mu'mineen who can do your wasila there. So when you ask people, say, hello, be my wasila here and in the here after. Don't forget me. Don't go to Jannah without me. Wait. Right? Well, not like you're going to go first, but tell them, just wait. Don't go in. Be like that. Tell anybody whom you feel that is Ahlul Jannah, don't let them go. Go with them, okay? Or tell them to wait for you. Okay, 554. So you have to turn a couple of pages for that, okay? Now, this is quite cute. So let's see. I'm only going to take the bit that works with you. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, or you who believe. Let's see the people Allah will bring. Because He says, whoever from amongst you turn back from his religion, don't think Allah needs you. Look at the people He will bring. Number one, and I've put it on a post-it note like this. You can underline it, okay? He says, yuhibbuhum wa yuhibbunahu. Allah will love them and they will love Allah. Okay, so that's okay. Now, what are their qualities? Number one, sorry. Adillatan alal mu'minin. How do you recognize people that Allah loves? Number one, they are totally humble towards mu'minin. I don't know how to explain this except to say that they're at the service of others. They don't mind being a doormat. Basically, number one, towards mu'minin, they will do anything, absolutely anything. They will go clean the toilet, they will pick up the rubbish, they will look after their children. Everything that they don't normally do, they will serve human beings. Only those who are mu'mineen, by the way. Okay, that is their first sign. They will serve humanity as well, but they will start here. They say put your lights on at home first before you put them outside. Secondly, a'izzatan alal kafirin. They have self-confidence. They have respect towards those who cover up the truth. Please don't call everybody a kafir. A kafir is one who covers up the truth. So they have their self-respect there. They don't engage with them. So when somebody's covering up the truth, they say salam and they walk away. They have self-respect. A'izzatan alal kafirin. Third thing, yujahiduna fi sabilillah. No, doesn't say associate. It says they have self-respect. No, not associate. Associate is different. Salam kalam is good with anyone. Okay, you cannot associate, and you cannot label people kafir as well. It's very easy to label somebody kafir. Just because they're not Muslim doesn't mean they're kafir. Okay, so you can't go around and say this one's a kafir and this is a Muslim. You can't do that. You have no. I say this very many times. One judge position taken when it's empty will all apply. So those who literally, covering up the truth. Okay, next one. Yujahiduna fi sabilillah. You will find that they strive in His way. They're amazing. When Imam Sadiq was asked about describing one who strives in the way of Allah, he says, when you see us, you see divinity. When you see them, you see us. It's your behavior that actually recommends that, right? Now the fourth one, look at what they do. I love this one, okay? وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. They do not fear criticism from anyone. Doesn't matter what anybody calls them. They put them down. They say, oh my goodness, what's wrong with you? Why are you covering your head? Whatever the case might be. I say this a lot of times as well, long time, not now. I think it's about 20 years ago, maybe, something like that. I remember taking somebody to the airport, and you never do this. I overtook a police car. You never do that. Okay. So he stopped me. I was wearing a black abaya because I had pajamas underneath, and this was the easiest thing to put on. And when I came out of the car, he said, how old are you? I didn't say anything. He said, where is your driving license? So I took out my driving license, I gave it to him. He said, when were you born? And don't ask me what I said after that, okay? But his first look was that if she's wearing a black chadar, she doesn't understand English, okay? So here, you don't, it says here, وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. It's okay. It's all right. You know who you are. As the Prophet said, if you have a pearl in your hand and somebody calls it a peanut, it's not going to become a peanut. It will remain a pearl. It doesn't matter what people say. All right, you're good with that. I've got some time because I think today is a bit later. And then, oh my goodness, I love this one. You all like this one, don't you? 555. Everybody knows this story. It's called Ayatul Wilaya. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة. So Allah is your wali. So beautiful. You're inclined towards Him. He's inclined towards you. وَرَسُولَهُ. You remember we talked about wali and the messenger. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, and those who believe. Now who? Which one? Those who are in salah and give zakah in salah. It's so beautiful because the only story you will find in all of history is where there was Salatul Jama'ah in Masjid al-Nabawi, and this beggar comes at the door and he asks for some money and nobody answers because obviously they're all praying, and he says, Ya Allah, you're a witness, I came to your masjid and nobody is giving me anything. And Imam Ali lifts his finger up and the guy takes the ring, and it's a ring, a ruby ring, right? Now you can't forget it. 555, come on, you just can't. Ayatul Wilaya. How can you forget? Did you not learn Panchat and Panch? Did you? So 555. If you forget every single ayah, and I asked you, what is Ayatul Wilaya, what would you say? 555. And if I ask you, which is the ayah that says, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا اللَّهُمَّ صَلِّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ. 33. It's all threes, and this is all fives. This is like, that's what the ring is for, yeah. And inside that ring, she's drawn a person in ruku, but you could draw another person if you wanted. It's up to you. And then the reason why I picked the next one, which is 556, and you haven't got a sticker there, is because of Hizballah. The moment we hear Hizballah, we tend to only think of Lebanon, and they're doing a fantastic job. But Hizb, in essence, is a party or a group which has an agenda. And their agenda is nothing but Allah. It is the pleasure of Allah. So if you go back to the ayah that I talked about, which was 554, do you remember we talked about who these people are? Hizballah, the party of Allah, consists of people with those four qualities. You good? Okay. Right. Ayatul Tabligh, you all know this one. So here's the Prophet. He's gone for Hajj. On his way back, it's 10 after Hijrah. There's 100,000 Muslims from all over the place. And they've come to a place where they're all going to go in different directions, right? Bilal gives azan. It is not the time for Zohar. Kids love this story. And they all come and say, what's the matter? Why are you giving azan? And the Prophet takes all their saddles. It's like taking all the car keys. You can't go anywhere. The saddles are used to build a stage. And this is because Jibreel has come, right? And the Prophet stands with Imam Ali on this stage, and this is the ayah that is revealed. Ya ayyuhar Rasul, O Prophet, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbika. Convey to them. So if I were to tell you what tabligh is literally to get the word out, to tell somebody something. So tell them what has been revealed to you from your Rabb. وَإِلَّمْ تَفْعَلْ. If you do not, فَمَا بَلَغْتَ رِسَالَتَ, it's like you've done nothing. So that was the most important announcement in the 24 years. وَاللَّهُ يَعْصِمُكَ مِنَ النَّاسِ, and Allah will protect you from people, because what you will say will get people really worked up. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْكَافِرِينَ. People got really worked up because Imam Ali was so much younger. They expected somebody older, they didn't see this at all. So this is Ayatul Tabligh. He holds Imam Ali's hands up, and you all know, Man kuntu mawlahu fahadha aliyan. Mawlahu, you have a sticker there with the Prophet holding Imam Ali's hands up, right? Now you've got 574. It's a simple ayah, it's not very difficult, self-explanatory. Can one of you also see what time I'm supposed to finish? Okay. 5-7. أَفَلَا يَتُوبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَهُ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So basically it's talking about istighfar and tawbah, right? See, tawbah is to change your ways. You may want to look at the ayah before when he talks about punishment. But basically is saying, what is wrong with them? Why don't they want to change their ways? أَفَلَا يَتُوبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ. It's talking to you and me. All you have to do is do a U-turn. Just change. وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَهُ, and ask for his forgiveness. وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Absolutely anything. Just turn back. Okay, 587, you might like this one. I love this one. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُحَرِّمُوا الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Why do you make that which is halal haram? Something that is tayyib, why? What is wrong with you? Why are you making it haram? We tend to put a blanket over everything. We have a problem, right? Ma ahallallahu lakum. Allah has made it halal for you. Wala ta'tadu. All he's asking you is don't exceed the limits. Inna Allah la yuhibbul mu'tadin. He doesn't like somebody who crossed the limits. Do you know the surah that you recite in Amal Ashura? Surah Al Ahzab. In Surah Al Ahzab, Allah talks about the Prophet's son that he adopted, that was Zayd. And Zayd was married to Zainab. Zainab was the prettiest girl in Medina. The Prophet takes the proposal. Zayd is an adopted son, right? Zayd and Zainab don't get on well together. They divorce. Guess who marries Zainab? The Prophet. And what happens? If it was in a Khoja community, he wouldn't be allowed on the mimbar. He would be Natbar. Yet this is the Prophet, is it not? Yes, no, maybe, perhaps? Good. I've rested my case here. What is halal cannot be made haram. What is wrong with us? We make what is allowed. I could go through a lot of, but I thought Qur'an was the best place to go. All right. Next one, 90. Now this is definitely haram, okay? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. We'll go over each one. Innamal khamru wal maisaru wal ansab wal alzam. 4 things. We're going to cover all 4 things. Rijsum. Rijs is something that is yuck. It's just not right. It's despicable. Min amal is shaitan. It is from shaitan. So let's go with the first one. Khamr is a figurative word for alcohol. This is because gamnu bayan parech. Okay, so khamr is a figurative word for alcohol because it covers the brain. That is why what you and I wear over our heads is known as khumur. You know the real cover, the covering that you have for women, because it covers your head. But anything that covers your brain, which is alcohol or drugs, comes under that thing of khamr. So that's number 1. Maisar is gambling. So maisar, gambling, is not allowed. Then you have ansab. Now ansab basically was a rock. And what they did with this rock is they made monuments. And then they started worshipping those monuments. So there's a wonderful story about a prophet whom people used to bring money to for charity. And when he died, his family, in good intentions, thought that people would stop bringing the money. And they were putting it to good use. So they made a statue of the Prophet and they said his spirit is still alive in the statue. And people kept on bringing money. This is the start of idol worshipping. So ansab is where suddenly you start worshipping that. You and I know that the zaris we have and the alams we have and whatever we have, they are all wasilas, because we ask Allahumma inni as'aluka bihaqqi Fatima or bihaqqi Abbas or whatever the case might be. But if we were to do, I remember one day, on the day of Hazrat Abbas, walking into the center and they were doing the amal of Hazrat Abbas, which is fine. But the Qibla was that way. And they were doing sajda that way towards the alam. That is worshipping an alam. That is not what Hazrat Abbas would have liked us to do anyway, in any case. So here, that is what ansab is. Now, azlam in basically, it's arrows. So what azlam used to do, what they used to do with arrows is, they used to shoot them up, and then wherever they fell, if they fell in the sea, it was good luck. If they fell on the land, it was bad luck. So he did all sorts of things like that. So you understand what azlam is now. You know what, when we say inky, pinky, ponky, or brawn, or dandelion, he loves me and he loves me not. For fun, it's okay. Okay? But if you're going to rely on a dandelion to tell you whether he loves you or not, you got issues, right? Okay. So, sorry, I'm 66, so I take all this. So you got 4 things here that are definitely not right. Okay? 599. Quite easy, self-explanatory. And you have an envelope there. Ma ala rasul illa al-balagh. There is nothing, no responsibility on the messenger except to communicate the message. Wallahu ya'lamu ma tubduna wa la taktumun. Allah knows what you do openly and what you hide. Okay. 5104, I love this one. وَإِذَا كِيلَ لَهُمْ تَعَالَوْا. And when it is told to them, مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ, come to what Allah has revealed to you and the messenger. قَالُوا, what do they say? حَسْبُنَا مَا وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَانَا. It is enough what our fathers did. أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. Their fathers did not know anything. وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. They weren't guided either. I say this 100 times and I'll repeat it again. We are a traditional community and there's nothing wrong in some of our traditions. But if I sit my children through pare and they do not understand, they will stop coming to the center. I have brought my children before, and if they go through a recitation that they cannot understand or a translation that is so difficult to understand, they get fed up. We've got to learn to move on. Just because we don't have food in the center, lots of people don't come for Fajr Salah. Yes. Last Saturday, there was no food. There was about 40 people. Normally there's 200. Okay, I'll rest my case. Okay. But we need to have an understanding that tradition is not necessarily right. And when you try to change tradition, then you find that society puts crossroads and there's soldiers at every crossroad. Difficult. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much over here. 105, I was again into trouble. Right, 5105. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Now, you believe. Alaykum anfusakum. You are responsible for yourself. لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم إلى الله مرجعكم جميعا فينبئكم بما كنتم تعلمون. Nobody can hurt you if you are on the right way. Nobody. You are responsible. You cannot say, I did this because my mama didn't teach me and my grandmother didn't teach me and it's not my fault, it's their fault. That's nothing. It's your responsibility. And he says you will all return to him. That's why you have a circle of life there by you. And when you go to him, فَيُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ, he will tell you what you did. You don't have to wait till death. You just have to look at yourself, myself, and see what we're doing in life. I'm going to try and finish this. So you've got to turn your page quickly, and we're going to look at 112 and 114. The reason why I've got 112 is just circle Maaida. Maaida is the food, the table of food from heaven that Prophet Isa asked about. And that's what this surah comes from. That's why you have a picture of a pink table of food, right? And then in ayah 114, you have Eid. It's the only place in the Qur'an where Eid is mentioned. So if you're looking for Eid, this is where it is. Eid comes from awada, which means something that recurs again and again and again. Eid is a recurring occasion. Eidul Fitr is the recurring occasion of breaking bad habits, so that again and again and again we will return to who we really meant to be. The same word is used for ma'ad. You know what ma'ad is? The day of Qiyamah. So ma'ad is from the same word. It's our final destination. Are you comfortable? Yeah, that is basically Surah Al Maaida. I know I've rushed through a bit of it. Maybe you can go through the recording and go over it again and again and make notes. Inshallah, after 2 weeks, so we haven't got 2 weeks, we haven't got the Christmas period, and then the New Year, which is the 2nd, and I will see you on the 9th. But I will send across some open book tests. You're not going to get away with it just like that, okay? So I'll send 2 of them. Can we end with the Surah Al-Fatiha, please? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-Azim.